Hey folks, how is everyone going today? We are unexpectedly back and looking at the Radxa Cubie A7Z again. Now, we don't often revisit boards, but I probably should, and I've talked about it in the comments a lot. So we're going to call this a take two, and I think it's deservedly so. Now, the reason for that is that I published my last video about this on November the 7th. I actually recorded it on October the 31st, though, 2025 that is. Now, if you go and have a look at their GitHub repos for their images, the repo that is linked to from their product page, and I will let them know about this, was actually archived on November the 3rd because they have a new repo completely dedicated to the A733, which is what this uses. Now, that means that when I tested this device out to start with, I used the B2 KDE image, and that was last updated in September 2025. Now, that obviously had issues with Wi-Fi, with GPU performance, and a commenter kindly pointed out that the benchmark results that I got were actually really strange. The single core outperformed the multi-core, which doesn't make sense. I also didn't use a heatsink with it. So I feel like I kind of jumped the gun there a little bit and didn't wait long enough for a release with the new repo, the new SDK, all of those things. And that means today we're back and we've got a few little changes for you. So let's jump into this for the second time within 12 months and give it another fair shot. See how it performs, possibly update the SBC tier list as well. Let's get into it. At this point, before we go any further, I do just want to let you know that PCBWay are sponsoring this video. Now, if you're new here, they've been a long time sponsor, and the reason is I actually use them for my own personal projects, and the reason I do that is because they have such good deals on and they have such good quality products and such good support. I've been working with them for years now, and I do test out other PCB manufacturers, but no one ever competes with PCBWay for me. Not only that, but if you're into 3D printing or CNC machining, they have a huge amount of materials. Like this is, it wipes the floor with anyone else. I have not seen any other variation of materials that you can do CNC machining or 3D printing with like these guys have. It's phenomenal. So they're continuing to support this channel. There is a link below for $5 off your first order, which if you're doing a prototype order, means the order's free and you just pay their very, very effective shipping rates. I'd love it for that reason if you click the link below and create a free account with them. It shows that you're supporting me and their engagement with this channel. It means a lot. It costs you nothing. And even if you're not into PCBs or 3D printing, they do have a module store, so you can go and get a whole pile of tools from them if you need multimeters or displays or reflow plates or even some products that I sell too. They have great stuff. So give them an opportunity. Now, getting into the A7Z, I was of course absolutely, blown away by the specs on this thing. So Wi-Fi 6, micro HDMI, an Allwinner SoC as opposed to Rockchip as usual, a second display interface with the USB 3.1 Type-C with DisplayPort alt mode, supports Type-C with power and on the go, Pi 2 style header, MIPI CSI 4-lane, so for high resolution cameras, onboard UFS if you order one with that, PCIe Gen 3 breakout, which is phenomenal, DDR4 instead of 3, and of course micro SD, giving you a whole pile of options. Now that A733 is a beast. It's got dual A76s and 6 A55, so a lot of capability there. It's got Imagination GPU. Now Imagination, from what I understand, discontinued making GPUs, and there has always been a bit of controversy with the support for these. So we'll give it a shot and see, but GPU is not what this is about. That's secondary in my mind. It also has a 3 TOPS NPU. Now that is small, but this is an embedded device essentially. It's very, very small in the 0 form factor. The VPU can then of course do H.264 and 265 4K at 30 FPS encoding, which is great. And it can also decode up to 8K at 24 FPS or 4K at 30 FPS for 264. So VP9 support's really nice too. You can order it with up to 16 gig of RAM. The breakout supports NVMe expansion and it does up to 4K 60 through that HDMI interface. So there's a lot of really, really good capability here, which is why I was really excited. And that's probably why I've decided to give this another test. So what we've done, if you go to the documentation and actually That's the one that we want. And we go to resource download. The links in here explain the images and what the repos mean. So we've gone to their latest repos page and we've gotten the R2 images. So the latest version, both in KDE and the CLI. We're going to test out KDE and then we're going to see what the CLI looks like as well. And that's what we're going to benchmark. Now, what I've done for that is soldered 3 of the header pins on. So I've got ground and 5 volt. And I've stuck a heatsink on this so we can give it a little bit more of a chance at this race. I've then got an SD card here. I've got a Lexar card that I've put the KDE image on and I haven't booted it yet. And over here, I've got one of my HP MX330 cards that I've got my CLI image on. So let's get this plugged in. We'll boot it up and see what it does the first time and see what the graphical user interface is like. Now, that isn't the primary use for this, but we're going to have a look anyway. And then, of course, CLI. Hold tight. Actually, stop holding tight for a moment. I forgot one thing. There is actually a dedicated fan header on here. So if you get their actual heatsink and fan board, that's what you'd use. And that's probably going to have PWM control and everything like that. For now, we're just going to blast this at full speed with this fan that is stuck on. This thing is cheap. I have them in stock and they work a treat with 3.3 or 5 volt. Now hold on. Righto, we're back. We've got it set up like this. So I've got my Finersi FMB58, which is the most amazing power meter I've ever used. This thing has infinite features. I don't use all of them. I mostly use it like this, but I have used it with Bluetooth to measure very, very low current too, which is great. We've got our fan plugged in. We've got our micro HDMI adapter on there so we can use the native interface. The SD card with KDE is in. What we're going to do is plug it in, watch it boot up, see what happens, and of course, measure the power this time too. Let's give it a shot. Through the power of magic, I also just quickly connected a keyboard and mouse because I realized I was missing that, and it can be very handy with desktop environments, especially if you don't have LAN, so you need to connect to Wi-Fi first. But switching to this view that I've set up, we're going to plug this in, see how long it takes to boot up, be able to monitor the power output at the same time, and get a good idea of what's going on. Let's have at it. There we go, 150, 160 milliamps straight off the bat. And we've got a little green LED light showing there, 200 milliamps. All right, something's going on. 220, 230. Oh, it's trying something on the display there. There might be a bit of a mode. There we go. There's a minor mode switch issue for a moment. It's blinking. Something's happening. Should have had some UART output actually. Could add a lot more. Look at that. We've got an interface. Excellent. We could have had a lot more detail there, but that's fine. We've got a very slight graphical glitch there, but that's all right. We can try logging in with the default account. The password is Radxa, R-A-D-X-A. This is a nice KDE interface. KDE has come a long way recently, especially in the last month or two with the new releases, but in the last year or two especially, it's come a long way. My fan's not spinning, so I might have soldered the headers on the wrong end. I'll have a look at that shortly, but that's not an issue for now. I'll disconnect it so that we're not potentially causing any problems with any I/O there. So here we go. I'm not seeing any more graphical issues with the mouse. Let's jump into console and have a quick look at one or two little things. Drawing about half an amp, which is pretty good. So it's about 2 watts. Now, df-h, we have a nice big root file system there. So it's automatically expanded to fill up, which is excellent. And there's some swap space pre-configured. So this model has 1 gig of RAM. I really should have got more than that, but I'm cheap and they didn't send this for free. I actually bought it. And we've got half a gig of swap configured. So very nice. What we're going to do now is just see if anything's changed in the Wi-Fi and the Chromium graphical acceleration side of things. I'm also just going to move this up a little bit so we can see what's going on down there. There we go. So sandbox mode, some keys missing. That's all fine. Let's go about GPU. Okay, we're seeing much the same there, which is a little bit unfortunate because the hardware supports all of this. We can, of course, try turning it on with about flags. And let's just go unsafe web GPU support enabled. Oop, I missed that there. And let's just relaunch with that and see what we get first. We might get a very, very broken Chromium. Okay, so we've got unsafe web GPU support. Here you go, another about, no, I don't care. GPU, still don't have it. All right, let's have a look if we can force anything else there. Override software rendering list. Yeah, let's do that. Let's just turn it all on, regardless of what it thinks it can do. This is where it's probably going to start to break pretty badly. And we'll check out Wi-Fi after this as well. There we go. So we still don't have anything happening there. That's interesting. And the only thing I can think of is that, okay, we've got the Wi-Fi module there. I can see straight away the AIC 8800. Let's get this a bit bigger. But I'm not seeing anything around the imagination. Oh, that's of course still in the way, isn't it? Around the imagination GPU there. And that's actually a little bit known, but what we can do, and what I didn't consider last time, is that there is, of course, some documentation here. So if we jump back to the desktop, we'll just quickly see if there's anything in here about that, because they do sometimes include GPU information. Hardware interface, Type C, micro SD, MIPI, CSI, U-boot, fan, antenna. No, it doesn't look like there is any GPU information in here. So it looks like in the current state, with the SDK, we're not going to have any GPU acceleration, which means we'll focus on headless for now. That's all right, because these things do take some time. Let's connect to my Pi-Fi. We're getting a decent signal there with this little FPC antenna, which is pretty good. 64% is quite excellent. So we didn't get the hardware acceleration in the browser or anywhere that we wanted, but I'm not into cricket, by the way. It's just I started typing test. Okay, my date's wrong. I know that. It'll get there eventually, but for now, oh, it should get there now, actually. Otherwise, we can't really use this, can we? Let's just go adjust date and time. So we've seen about nearly 3 watts total draw, and it's going to be more important to see what's actually going. Oh, so that's updated whilst I was talking. All right, don't worry about it then. Let's refresh this. Yep, so we can search Google and use this just as normal. That's not a problem. So we'll have a closer look at the power when we're doing the CLI image and the benchmark. That's coming now, so I'm going to shut all this down. We know what it can do, we know what's changed, and we'll boot up the CLI image. Hold on a tick, please. All right, this is all good to go. I have my fan connection the right way around now. That can help. And we've got our other SD card in there. Now I'm powering this with my 1.5 meter Pi 64 silicon power cable. They're really good and really cheap, and I've got them in stock, of course, and it's being powered by a Pine Power, which I also have in stock, and I use these a lot, especially for soldering. The thing worth looking at, though, is that they do also have their new Pine Power, and I've got these in stock hugely too, because have a look at how cheap they are and what they can do. Fantastic. Not the point of now, though. So we're going to get back to this. We're going to plug it in, and we're going to see what this CLI does. Now, if this is going to do a 4K CLI experience, it's going to take some squinting, but I'll see if I can maybe blow it up for you, that's loud, a little bit bigger when I edit it afterwards. Okay, it's drawing about 300 milliamps. There we go. We've got that same mode change issue. We got our boot splash, and we should be straight into a CLI. Come on, you can do it. Now I've used the HP MX330 SD card for this, which I also have in stock still, because I'm going to enable more swap space for the sake of Geekbench. Geekbench 6 needs about 2 gig of RAM, which does make it hard to run on this. And I don't know if it's going to affect the benchmark results. I don't believe it is. I think it's just a matter of it expanding all of its test suites. It requires that, but as they're executing, they're primarily going to be in the instruction cache or the data cache around the CPU. Now this is still doing a lot. I don't have any graphical output yet, but you can see there's some numbers moving around there. We know the HDMI output's working. We just used it and we saw the boot splash. Now this of course does need to expand the partition and everything on first boot, so it should have done that pretty quickly. It is looking fairly stable now, though with higher current utilization than what the desktop one had. So maybe it's still doing something. I'm just going to give it a moment before I think something's wrong. And worst case, we can always plug in a USB network adapter and we can SSH to it and run it that way. And that'll probably be easier to see anyway. So whilst I leave this for a tick, I'm going to grab that USB adapter and then we'll see what it's doing. No, still nobody's home. So I'm going to plug in my USB network adapter and plug in the network cable for that. And then we'll see what happens. Okay, it obviously picked that up. You can see that happening now. Don't need this keyboard and mouse anymore, so I'll get that out the way. I'm going to go grab the IP address. Actually, one thing I might quickly try is just changing this capture device to be 1080, just in case. But no, I see it's saying no signal, so it's definitely getting no signal. I'm not sure what the deal is there, but so be it. Back in a tick, I'll get the IP, we'll SSH to it. All right, so assuming the default user, and then it's not waiting for us to create our own user. Oh, you're kidding me. So SSH isn't enabled, and I'm assuming, yeah, we still have no output. Gonna have to think for a minute on this one. Now, whilst I was doing that, I of course thought it'd be worth doing a apt update and apt upgrade in the graphical KDE version. I did this using rsetup, which is how you should be doing on any Radxa product, just to see if that fixed anything, if there's any GPU updates or anything like that. Give it a fighting chance, of course. But it seems that didn't actually make any difference. And after the updates and the reboot, I figured it was worth checking rsetup to see if there's any overlays to be enabled for it or anything like that, but I couldn't see anything there either. So that's that for now, and we're going to get back to the CLI interface. Now, I genuinely don't know if it was the Elgato capture card that just stopped capturing any input then, or if it was the image that was on here, and that's not even inserted correctly. But what I've done is I put this back in my host system. I chrooted to it using QEMU for the sake of the ARM64 or versus x86 64 difference. And I reinstalled the SSH service because the target appeared to be missing. And then I also did an rsetup update on that just to make sure everything's up to date as well. So hopefully, regardless of what the cause was before, we should get a GUI now, but even if we don't, and by GUI I mean CLI via HDMI, even if we don't, we should have SSH over the network interface. So let's see what we get. Okay, this is what we got before. Got that much. And this happens with the KDE image too. This is normal. It's whether or not it comes back from this with a CLI for us to use. We'll give it a minute maybe. All right, that's as long as I can be asked waiting. So we're gonna go for the network approach again. We plug this back in, it should get the same IP because it hasn't been very long, it's got the same MAC address, and then hopefully reinstalling OpenSSH server, and if not, then doing the updates gives us access. Let's have a look here. There we go. Still connection refused. That's really unfortunate. At this point, I am a little bit stumped. It does appear that this image is broken in some way. It's booting up, but I'm not getting any display output. I think the last thing I'm going to quickly try is I do have another capture device. I don't know if it will output to this either, but this might be trying to do 4K and just not be cutting it. This thing is only 1080. So give me a tick and I'll plug this in, and this will be our last ditch effort at getting this going, which has been a tad frustrating, but it's a learning experience. Hold tight. All right, this is a brand new cable that I just unboxed with the micro HDMI adapter that we know works. So let's give it a kick in the pants, see if it gives us anything different this time. I will also, if we don't get anything, I'm just going to quickly check the input modes for this USB adapter. Don't think that would be an issue. MJPEG should always work. We've got a lot of variation in the current consumption there too. We're not getting our splash. So whilst we're watching that, I'm just quickly trying different input modes, specifying the resolution and frame rates. But it is not giving us anything. So unfortunately, seemingly this this CLI image doesn't have working SSH even after removing and reinstalling it and doing an apt update or an rsetup system upgrade. Just doesn't have working SSH. I don't understand why. And we can't get any HDMI output from it whatsoever, regardless of what sort of resolution we're trying to capture in. So I am going to go back to this KDE image now, and I'm going to boot it up, strip the head off it, and benchmark it like that. So hopefully, at least with this new image, we will get a bit of a different result because we can see it's obviously functioning differently as well. Wi-Fi worked out of the box, and I'm not sure about the CLI. It has me stumped, but I'd love your input below, and who knows, there might be a part 3 of the A7Z. I'd love to see this work because this SoC shows so much promise. So lastly, I would like to thank PCBWay again, but more importantly, my patrons. So I don't know if you know this, but I do have a Patreon. If you want to support me other than YouTube, of course, hit the like and the subscribe and leave a comment on all those things, but you can join my Patreon here and get behind the scenes information, chat with me and others, get help with your own SBC adventures. And of course, if you haven't seen it before, this is the SBC tier list that all these things go on. So the, where have we got this? Is that it there? No, that's the 02. There we go, the A7Z. So we put it in a B tier last time, meaning it scored between 15 and 19 out of 30 points. And you see I've updated this with the numbers now after that last video. And I think it's going to stay in this B tier for now. In fact, I even haven't added the last video. That should be a new entry in the C tier that I'll do shortly. But it's going to stay in the B tier. I'm going to get the benchmark done just because the data was a bit wrong, as we saw, and we'll see what the future brings us. So thank you for coming along again. It's greatly appreciated that you're continuing to support this channel. It would be appreciated if you could hit like and do the thumbs up and leave a comment and all those fantastic things that the algorithm wants you to do, because that greatly supports me. Don't forget to check out PCBWay. They've got heaps on. Use the link below for 5% off your first order with them. Costs you nothing to sign up, but it helps me and it helps them greatly. And I'll see you in another 2 weeks or so with another video. Take it easy.